Certainly is research about the type of alpha wave brain state that television technology has been designed to induce in people. And just anecdotally, of course, I think we can all relate to the experience of looking away from the TV screen at the other people watching TV and noticing the state of semi-hypnosis those people seem to be in, more than just being engaged in a story. They seem to be engaged by the screen itself. Having said that, I don't have any of that particular data and scientific research to back that up on me at the moment. But certainly all of recorded human history, story has been the way to most effectively shape the consciousness of a people. Yeah. And of course, we understand this going all the way back to Greek drama and the sorts of stories that are being told that are shared and understood together tend to form our understanding of the world and then to influence the way we act in the world. Yes. So that it's sort of a feedback loop, culturally speaking. And I think it would be naive of us to think that the people who are literally paying the bills for these types of programs are not aware of the incredible power that these stories have in shaping our consciousness and are not actively working to bring about the types of stories that will lead to the most pliant and pliable people for them. Now, that can take surprising forms, I think. Something that I've grappled with, I used to do a series, I don't tend to do it so often anymore, but I had a series on film, literature, and the New World Order, where I examined television, movies, and books for their propagandistic value and or predictive programming value.
Yes.
Interesting concept. So the idea here is something that is, at least ostensibly on the surface, a warning of a possible dystopia that we might be heading into, may on another level actually be preparing us for that reality. It seems inevitable once it arrives. And from that perspective, so much dystopian science fiction seems almost like it's designed to get us to expect we are heading into 1984. Oh, this is Brave New World. Oh, I saw this on, say it with me, Black Mirror. I've still never seen an episode of Black Mirror, but every single time I bring up certain concepts like social credit, I will get several emails from people. That's just like that Black Mirror episode. Yeah. So I don't know how that exactly works, but there's clearly a profound effect on people's psyche from that.
I suppose the most obvious recent example of that is the Channel 4 series Utopia. You may have seen it referenced. Utopia describes, well, one of the subplots is that they fake a pandemic in order to persuade everyone to take the cure for the pandemic, which turns out to be a depopulation drug. It's designed to stop people being fertile. Now, how did that creep into a Channel 4 drama series? The guy who wrote it, I don't think is, he's got a track record of writing, decent dramas, but nothing sort of out of the ordinary. So where does it come from?
I would hesitate to start to immediately say that this is planted propaganda so much as the fact that I think artists and writers and others do pick up on the general zeitgeist in a certain way, and that there clearly has been over the last decade or so, there's been a mainstreaming of conspiracy theorizing that has, again, through that feedback loop, both influenced and been influenced by popular culture. And I think there are definitely writers that are picking up on that and understanding. I think there's been a huge, a quantum leap, if you will, in understanding of certain basic ideas, from sort of the rabbit hole side of things about false flag terrorism and these types of ideas, which would have been almost unthinkable a couple of decades ago. Yeah. Why would the government attack itself? Was the standard line when I first started researching this sort of thing. Now it seems most people at least understand the concept. And yes. I think there are writers who pick up on that. So I wouldn't know, I haven't at all researched Utopia, but it reminds me just off the top of my head, it sounds like the Lone Gunman pilot episode. Are you familiar with that?
Tell me.
So it was in the spring of 2001. I don't know the exact month. I want to say March. That on US television, the Lone Gunman series pilot aired. And this is a spinoff of the X-Files series, which, now this is the funny part. I have still to this day never seen an X-Files episode, which may be surprising to people, but it's true. Anyway, this is a spinoff focusing on, I guess, these three guys that were part of the X-Files universe, but this is their show. And the pilot episode involved basically a government plan. What they discover is certain elements within the government had a plan to hijack a commercial aircraft by remote control and fly it into the World Trade Center in order to start a war in the Middle East, to drum up business, essentially. And this aired 6 months before 9/11, which in and of itself is rather odd, isn't it? But beyond that, one of the actors from that series later appeared in the independent media to say, oh, well, Chris Carter used to hang around at these, cocktail parties in LA, and there were CIA people there that gave him story ideas from time to time. I know that happened. So ... Put two and two together. I don't know. Again, I it's not definitive, but clearly there is some sort of culture creation industry that really does have military and intelligence ties.
Yes, and I wonder, I mean, we know that there are bad people out there. We know that there are forces of evil, black hats, you can call them. There must be people on our side, surely, at a high level. Do you think? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, of course. And where are they now is the question. Yes. At any rate, I am certainly not a proponent of some sort of monolithic conspiracy theory where everything is controlled by this one person or one group and they control everything that happens. I think that's far too simplistic and childish.
Yeah.
There clearly are different factions that at the very least compete with each other for relative power within the system. So there has to be at least some sort of adversarial role played by different people within that power structure. Are any of them really on the side of humanity itself? I guess that remains to be seen. Yes, the ultimate dream would be for some consummate insider to step forward and blow open the whole paradigm and reveal it all in broad daylight in a way that can't be dismissed, but we'll believe it when we see it, right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. What do you think's going on, and when did it start? How far back does it go?
Yeah, well, that question is endlessly fascinating and way beyond my ken. I generally say something like, well, at the very least, we know for a century there's been all this talk about depopulation and things like this. Could it be centuries? Could it be millennia? Surely, yes. At the very least, we can locate the sort of desire for control of the globe. Is clearly the desire of every tyrant throughout history. And Alexander the Great and everyone else wanted to control as much of the globe as they could. This is an age-old quest. So that, at the very least, is sort of the basic level of this that we can understand going back a long, long time. But this particular incarnation of what is happening right now, again, it depends how narrowly you want to define it. Right now, we are living through the implementation of a biosecurity state, which is predicated on technocratic constructs that you could trace the intellectual and academic lineage back to the 1930s, 1920s, 30s.